everyone. I'm Matt Williamson. How's it going? Things are good here. Previewing a big game. Today is breaking down Chargers-Steelers. And it's not just because the Steelers defense played so well, but last week. But I'm pretty optimistic about this. And I think the Chargers are a really tough-minded, well-coached team with a fantastic quarterback. And I do think that this staff in LA gets more out of their players than most teams do. They maximize their talent. But to cut to the chase, the thing that is such an advantage for the Steelers is the offensive line situation for the Chargers is a total disaster. So let's start there. I love how the Chargers team built. They invested in 2 tackles. They go sign Becton. They had, Zion Johnson there already, a first-round pick. But it's just totally fallen apart. And I don't know exactly what version and who's going to be lining up where and what's Trevor Penning going to do, who they traded for 2 days ago. But I know Alt's not going to be there. I know Slater's not going to be there. And I know that their offensive line in general is going to be a huge problem. I don't know how much deeper dropbacks, downfield passing you can really do. And I would think that they're going to try to run the ball a lot. They have 2... Matlock, and I forget the other dude's name off the top of my head, but they're like defensive lineman, Ricard, fullback bangers. And Will Dissly, a blocking tight end. He was inactive last week, but I think he's supposed to come back. Maybe they're going to have to employ a lot more big, heavy guys just to run the football and help the O-line. Kind of like the Steelers do at times too. But in pure passing situations, I expect Watt, Highsmith, Herbig to go crazy. And I give Herbert all the credit in the world, but he's like one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the league. He's been a phenomenal runner, whether designed or scrambles, more scrambles, but he's also turning the ball over more because of all the pressure he's been under. And he's good under pressure, though. Now, I told you this on yesterday's podcast, when we get out of the way. Turnovers and special teams overall greatly favor the Steelers, which is huge. However, the Chargers are the second best team in time of possession, where we know the Steelers are just terrible. So I'm thinking the Chargers are probably going to want to run the ball a lot, control the clock, be real physical, stay out of third and unmanageables, because that would really go badly for them. And Herbert's just such a good player. I mean, he's remarkably talented. He does everything well. I've said this for a while now that I think they're still, including Burrow, are 4 elite quarterbacks: Jackson, Allen, Mahomes, Burrow. But my 5th pick would be Herbert. I love Matthew Stafford too, but Herbert's does more, with his legs and certainly going forward, age, all those things, if you were to consider that. So he's remarkably dangerous, and he's playing semi at an MVP level, but just is not getting help from his line and protection hardly at all right now. Or much of the season, to be honest with you. Now, I really like their group of receivers, though, too. Gadsden, this young tight end, is coming on like gangbusters. Now, he doesn't really block anybody. It's almost like they have too many good pass catchers to get them all on the field. Like Keenan Allen's snaps are dropping because they're featuring Gadsden more. McConkey's still a stalwart. Allen still moves the chains incredibly well. They figured out what to do with Quentin Johnston. I mean, as a rookie, they were asking him to kind of line up and be George Pickens, as an X on the line of scrimmage. And that's not what he is at all. He's much more of a Debo after the catch, physical type guy, get him in stride. Trey Harris, their 2nd-round pick from this year, is playing a lot because he's a really good blocker. They want to run the ball. So dealing with that wide array of pass catchers is very worrisome to me with Herbert. And I would think it'll be more quick game. Maybe that features Keenan Allen a little bit more as a chain mover. But protection and just O-line play in general, to me, is such an advantage for the Steelers that I can't really harp on that enough.
Football season's finally here. Time to check out the latest odds, futures, and win totals on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Think the Steelers are headed to the Super Bowl? Lock in your bets today. Whatever your game, FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials so you can join in on all the action.
When the Steelers are on offense, I'll be honest, I don't have nearly as good a feel for this side of the ball. And a lot of it's because the Chargers' defense is, again, really well coached. They only use a handful of big 300-pounders, and their edge guys are good. Derwin James is a star. We'll talk about him. I really like Henley. I want you to pay attention to him as an off-the-ball linebacker, much like I talked about Edgerrin Cooper a couple weeks ago as a real up-and-comer at that position that's lacking up-and-comers around the league. They get a lot out of their secondary, and they don't make a lot of mistakes, but there's not a lot of dynamic players there. Khalil Mack's still there, Derwin, who I mentioned. And let's just start with Derwin James. I mean, there's obviously a Harbaugh connection, but Derwin is their Kyle Hamilton. He will do everything. He's their best defensive player. He'll play in the box mostly, but he can play deep. He can play slot. He blitzes a lot. He's a killer versus a run. He's one of the best safeties in the league, and he's a certain style. But you need to always account for him. You're going to have to get big bodies on him in the run game. He can be a game wrecker type player. Steelers offensive tackles will also have to be up for the challenge. Khalil Mack is still a very good player. He's very stout against the run. Oweh's been a really good addition too. They traded for from the Ravens. I mean, they rotate these three guys a lot. Tui Tapalopo, I crush his name, I'm sorry, is another guy they're super high on and felt real comfortable letting Bosa go to get him on the field. And then they recently, a month or so ago, added Oweh to the mix, who's racking up sacks like on a weekly basis now all of a sudden. So their edge guys versus Steelers tackles to me is a big key here as well. I would think the Steelers will want to get back to running the football, obviously much better than they did against the Colts, which was pretty miserable. But I think you want to be a little more voluminous, a little more run heavy, stick with it, because the O-line and the scheme in general with the run game, I think was or still is trending very much in the right direction, doing a lot of different stuff. I'm sure Rodgers will control the game at the line of scrimmage, locate Derwin. I would think this could be a good Metcalf game. I like their corners, but I think you'll find matchups there that you like. Middle of the field will be, I wouldn't say super vulnerable for the, with James and Henley and those guys. But again, this side of the ball, I can't quite wrap my head around what both teams are going to try to do as much as usual by this point, by Thursday evening. But I do have the Steelers winning this game. I expect a lot of you guys in the crowd there Sunday night. I have the Steelers winning 26-20. I certainly can see a path to victory for the Chargers, though, if it's just get the ball out quick, Flacco hitting Chase and Higgins, but this time it's Herbert hitting 4 or 5 different receivers. Just diagnosing at the line of scrimmage, get it out of his hands quick, completion. Now, it's only one game against Indianapolis, but my hope is the Steelers have remedied that a little bit, that they're a little less vulnerable to just getting picked apart with quick game. But overall, eventually it's going to be 3rd and long. I mean, eventually it's going to be, we got to protect against some game wrecker edge players of the Steelers. And to me, that's the difference, along with a special teams and what has been a massive turnover advantage for Pittsburgh. All right, everyone, I will come back to you super late night Sunday when this thing's over and give you my immediate reactions. Thanks.